to the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Mainland 98.3 FM is the station. Sage Babalola is my name. Good morning to you and welcome to radio. If what you require is information and analysis on national issues, then you're definitely in the right place. Welcome once again to Trends in the Papers, a segment of the Morning Express here on Mainland 98.3 FM, where we address headlines across all of the papers. And as stated earlier, we accompany the stories with in-depth analysis. Also, we're going ahead to allow you to publicly discuss the effects that these stories have on you. And it's more interesting, the conversations we have every morning, because it's been an eventful couple days and more events are going to unfold as we proceed into the new month with the fuel scarcity and also with less than 48 hours to the planned nationwide protest. And in a rather ironic turn of event, there are currently Nigerians on the street in places like the FCT, for example, who are protesting against a protest. Well, although many groups have taken sides and the government has pleaded for more time, the trajectory of events in the next couple of days, starting from the 1st of August, of course, remain to be unseen. Well, my name is Sage Babalola once again. Welcome to Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. We are social, so if you'd like to participate on the conversations that we have on radio and you'd like to go along with us, by all means, join our live stream on YouTube and also on Facebook at Mainland 98.3 FM and make use of the live chat option. Well, I did promise you that we would accompany these stories that we're about to take from the newspapers with some in-depth analysis, and Fᴜʟʟ will be joining us virtually for that particular endeavor. Fᴜʟʟ, good morning to you. It's nice to talk to you again.
Yes, good morning, Sage. How are you doing?
Me? Fᴜʟʟ, how do you think I'm doing?
Good. I think you're fine.
Fᴜʟʟ, do you think I'm fine?
Maybe not totally fine.
Maybe not totally fine. And I'm going to tell people why I'm not totally fine. Because I was
you want to discuss, you want to say that on radio?
I will say it on radio because, to be honest, I'm very disappointed in our... I'm disappointed in us as a people. I'm very disappointed in us as a people. But if you don't want me to talk about it, it's fine. I won't talk about my experience, but I will definitely talk about the events that led to my experience.
All right.
On Sunday,
you're free to do that.
Yes. Well, you're aware, but people should be aware of the agitation
of course, yes. What happened?
that is on the streets. On Sunday, at Corn Oil in Agege, somebody decided to light a fire to threaten the fuel attendants to attend to him quickly. It was so ridiculous. You walk into the filling station, you see that there's a queue, and then you say because you're a bike man and you need to get fuel as quick as possible so you could resume to work and pick passengers, and they tell you there's a queue, you have to join the queue. You bring out a lighter, you turn it on, and then you threaten to burn the place to the ground with everyone in the filling station until he was tackled and the lighter was taken from him. That is the most traumatizing, ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life, and I'm unable to make sense of it, that we have come to this level where we're literally threatening to murder people just because we're trying to buy fuel.
Probably commit suicide too. He was going to kill
himself. Of course, because he struggled the nozzle from the fuel attendant. He grabbed it and said he would pump the fuel and light the fire if he's not attended to. And this is who we have become. Fᴜʟʟ. People are literally now losing their minds because of the situation that we're currently in. It was the most traumatizing thing I've seen in a long time. And this is not a second person report. I was there at the filling station. And I can't get the image out of my head, the possibilities that could have happened if not because he was tackled to the ground. Fᴜʟʟ, I don't even know. I've been thinking about it so much that it gives me the chills, honestly.
And the concluding part for you was the most traumatizing too.
I don't want my steez to reduce. Fᴜʟʟ, please don't reduce my steez. I'm not going to don't reduce my composure.
But very unfortunate, really. Nigerians have become very angry. And sometimes when anger gets to a tipping point, it becomes almost like a mental situation. The mental health situation of the average Nigerian now requires a lot of help and support. Unfortunately, I don't think that kind of therapy is readily available in this part of the world. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of people have become very abnormal in the way they behave. They get so angry at everything. You know, in the past, when you step on someone and say sorry, it ends there automatically. Say. But the more you say sorry now, the more people get angry at you. They get aggravated and then just get so easily violent. And then the mob are part of our lives. You know, this idea of mob action, people are so eager now to pounce on people. It just goes to show that the frustration in the minds of the average person out there has gotten to a point where everybody now has to be very, very careful. And I think that's also one of the things that the government has been able to latch on to create this narrative around what could be a violent turn of events. Should Nigerians be allowed to protest? But what they are saying is that, look, Nigerians are going to a point where they might not be able to coordinate themselves in a peaceful manner. Of course, the easiest example would be that of the EndSARS situation where, of course, what was supposed to be a peaceful protest eventually ended in chaos, carnage, arson, burning down properties, killing of security operatives and what have you. But again, it's just unfortunate where we found ourselves. Nigerians have gotten to a point where sometimes we begin to question our mental health and the way people react to things. Very, very unfortunate that someone, because of agitation, would even dare to light up a filling station, burn down everybody, and probably kill themselves. But that's the story of average Nigeria now that gets so angry to the point where critical thinking becomes a problem. Very unfortunate.
Very unfortunate, because now I tried to cover the story and they mobbed me. But I will not give details.
you have now let the bag out of the car. You have cut out of the bag yourself. I was going to hide that part of the story. No, you are going to be doing that about Paul.
You spoke about the mob. You said the word mob and it just triggered me. Because I tried to cover that event and then they mobbed me. They said, oh, why do I want to put their faces on social media? I'm not supposed to make a video. They mobbed me, almost smashed my phone. I mean, I was physically assaulted by a group of thugs because I was trying to cover the story.
I tell people in the game that, the job we do comes with a lot of its own hazards and risks. People just think that because you're on radio, you are immune to a lot of the things that happen in the society. I think a lot of journalists will tell you that what it also takes to get some of these stories out, you have to be a bit discreet, you have to do your investigation. To get videos out to have become a problem because everybody's agitated with. I've had situations where I've gone to do video shoots and I've been practically mobbed too. Again, maybe the street sense that comes into doing our job, has helped out in the past for me. And so when I do some of these things again, I try to read the room, look at the mood of the people around me, probably even talk to one or two people before I start doing anything in the public space, because you don't know who's going to come after you because of the kind of job we do. So, but again, we thank God that at least it didn't end so badly. The story is not a very good one. For people who are listening to us this morning, they might not understand the complete picture because we were trying to manage the information there. But it was a very terrible situation, but we thank God that you are life, sound, healthy, and back to work.
I'm actually very glad, and thank you to the man who stepped in and practically rescued me. He didn't want to tell me his name. He didn't want to tell me his name. He just shielded me from all the multiple slaps and here and there. But it's all good. Like my friend says, if you have not been physically assaulted as a journalist in Nigeria, you've barely done your job. You've not started anything. So I guess I'm on my way to starting something now that I've been physically assaulted for trying to do my job. Anyways, this is just me, going over all of the many traumatizing things that happened over the weekend as a result of the agitation that is growing in the mind of the average Nigerian. Well, welcome once again to Trends in the Papers. We have The Punch, we have the Vanguard newspaper and The Guardian, of course, and we'll start conversations for this morning from The Punch newspaper. We're talking about the PMS situation. President Tinubu orders Naira crude sale. Marketers project price crash. President Tinubu orders Naira crude sale. Marketers project price crash. We have here the approval given by President Bola Tinubu for the sale of crude oil to Dangote Petroleum Refinery in Naira is going to force the prices of domestically refined petroleum products to crash, oil marketers, refiners, and experts have stated on Monday. Operators in the downstream oil sector commended the move by the president, stating that it would boost the output of domestic refineries, shore up the country's foreign exchange reserves, and strengthen the naira. They also hailed the media for also putting the matter on the front burner, stressing that the Nigerian refineries should not continue to struggle to get to the United States dollar to procure a commodity that is produced in the country. Fuad, I guess all of Dangote's media appearances have finally paid off, because now they've been able to reach a resolve that crude will be sold to him in naira. The 450,000 barrels per day that is required for domestic consumption would be made available, and of course it would be in our local currency. And experts have already started to project that this particular move by the president to supply about 4 cargoes of the 15 that is required by Dangote for domestic use, more specifically, would be sold to him in naira. Not just him, other refineries as well, but they are using Dangote as the pilot. Are you hopeful for what is to come now that this decision has been made?
Well, better late than never, Sage. It's better late than never, really. Because people have questioned why we have to wait this long, why you have to take Alhaji Aliko Dangote issuing press statements, making comments, coming out practically complain about the situation before he was able to get the attention of the president, who has now, practically waded into the matter to direct the sale of crude oil to Dangote refinery. And the most important part of the conversation is that it will now be sold in naira, which is something we've always discussed, say.
Yeah.
Because again, when people come up with this idea that, it has to be sold in dollars, it's dollarized, blah, 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 we keep telling them that, look, Nigeria is an oil producing nation, so we have the benefit, the opportunity to do some of these things. Domesticating our own situation. We are not supposed to be tied by what happens in the global oil market. We have a situation where we can actually domesticate our own policy as far as the oil sector is concerned. And I think this is a very good one from the president, but there are still quite a number of questions we need to ask ourselves, Sage. Because again, it's not just to make these announcements that matter. We need to, again, check these announcements as to how practicable these things would help to resolve some of the challenges we have with the oil sector. Again, Dangote will be getting, he needs about 15 cargoes a year for his refinery. Remember that refinery has a capacity of 250,000 barrels per day. And he will be needing about 15 cargoes of crude oil supply in a year if he's going to be working full capacity. But the government has now pledged about four cargoes.
Yeah.
So it means he will have to start this source for more crude oil supply in other parts of the world. So the importation of crude oil for that refinery is not yet over. It's still something he still has to do. But this is a good starting point. I think we can start from here. And the reason why we may not be able to guarantee full supply to meet its entire demand when it comes to crude supply is because, again, we have a lot of forward sale agreements. As far as crude oil exploration is concerned in Nigeria. There's also the problem of oil theft and the fact that, look, a lot of the IOCs have divested. There's lack of serious investment in the upstream sector. So all of those issues, maybe when it's eventually finally resolved, we may begin to see a situation where we can meet this domestic demand needs of the Dangote refinery. But again, Sage, there's a problem here. We're talking about 450,000 barrels of crude oil supply a day. If Port Harcourt comes on stream, that's the Port Harcourt refinery, we'll be needing about 210,000 barrels of crude oil per day, right? For that refinery. If Warri comes on stream, I think we'll be needing about 110,000 for Warri, and then about 150 for the Kaduna refinery. Again, we are still far from being able to solve our problems when it comes to demand, supply to our local refineries locally. Because again, 450,000 barrels per day would merely be scratching the surface if other refineries come upstream. Because it's just Dangote refinery now. If we follow what the NNPCL is saying as to Port Harcourt coming up in August, so where will the feedstock come from? The crude oil supply come from? If we're just using Dangote as a pilot scheme for this local. So, like I've said, it's a good way to start with. And again, I think this will also help the license owners. If you remember, see, a lot of the license owners, especially for the modular refineries, what they said was that it was difficult for them to get bank funding from banks, because there was no guarantee for the federal government that crude oil will be supplied to them and it will be done in naira. That was one of the conditions I think a lot of the bankers gave them for not wanting to fund the building of those modular refineries. So with this particular announcement from the government, I think that it should go beyond announcement. If it is possible to legislate it, I think we should do it. I don't know whether this decision by the president is already captured in the TIA. But if it is not, I think we should legislate it. It could become a law. So that it's not just because, again, this is just a mere pronouncement, again, from the Federal Executive Council, of course, directed by the president. But I think that we should now affirm it to become a part of our law, so that, again, a lot of these people who have these modular refineries, who are the license owners of these refineries, can also participate funding from their bankers to start to build these refineries. But while we are building these refineries, we have to look at the upstream sector, oil exploration. Crude oil production has to go up for us to be able to feed the refineries. And that will require a lot of investment, a lot of commitment from the government to fix the problem of crude oil theft. We need to bring in a lot of investors, only from this IOT. We need more IOTs, more players upstream. And then we also have to now fix the problem of bureaucracy, the bottlenecks, the red tapeism that comes with operating in the oil sector. And then we can begin to talk about, getting self-sufficiency domestically when it comes to refined products. Why not? Maybe we'll now get to the era where we are not just exporting crude oil. We may now also get to the point where we refine for domestic use, and, permitting to use the word naira. We do that in naira. And then also refine for exportation, and then we can begin to talk about earning dollars and forex, not only from crude oil, but from refined petroleum products. Nigerians can do it. We can do it. We just need the commitment and the leadership to drive that purpose. So it's something good from the president and the Federal Executive Council.
Right. Well, that story is on page 6 of the Punch newspaper. Just like the report says, experts are hopeful that following this pronouncement by the president or the presidency, that the crude oil that will be made available to Dangote refinery would be sold in naira, and they're hoping that the ripple effect will mean a reduced pump price for PMS. You can get details of the stories and all of the figures on page 6 of the Punch newspaper. Moving forward, we also have here hardship protest. Security agencies begin massive soldier police deployment. I beg your pardon. The rider, NPF places operatives on red alert. NCOS fortifies custodial centers, and NSCDC deploys 30,000 personnel. The Punch tells us that the military and the police have commenced a massive nationwide deployment of soldiers and police personnel ahead of the August 1 End Bad Governance protest planned by youth and civil society groups. Finding by the Punch on Monday also indicates that security agencies, including the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, have put their personnel on red alert in anticipation of the proposed nationwide rally, organized to draw the government's attention to the economic hardship faced by citizens. Fouad, a lot of security advisories have been made available for weeks now since the announcement of the protest. For example, in Abuja, they asked to use the Eagle Square. That's the protesters. They asked to use the Eagle Square, and we have videos available online right now of the heavy security presence that is currently at Eagle Square. In fact, 𝐴 yesterday said he has not gotten their permission letter to use Eagle Square, and until he gets it, before he can say anything about the usage of the place. But that's the FCT. But here in Lagos as well, I think anybody who's been on the road lately would see the heavy police presence. All of this in anticipation of the protest and to help manage whatever form of violence may occur on that day. There's really nothing spectacular about this announcement, Fouad, is there? Security has always been made available during times like this one, right?
Well, again, there's nothing wrong in trying to create a security arrangement that protects the protester and the non-protester. Say, if like the security operatives are saying, from the police to the DSS to the army, that they have intelligence that there are people who want to hijack the protest, there are people who want to cause carnage, chaos. Again, we are not security operatives; we are just journalists, and so. But again, it's been a consistent rhetoric now from all our everyone is talking about. Look, the fact is that, look, we have intelligence, we have it on good authority. In fact, it's gone even beyond local, how do I put it, local, situation now, because you have a situation where even the DSS is talking about foreign mercenaries, tendency by some people from outside. So there's so much tension, really. So again, in telling the police and the security operatives to do their job, I think whatever arrangement they are putting on ground now should not be about intimidating whoever decides to protest. It should be more about being strategic to protect the protester and then the non-protester. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
Again, it's unfortunate that in a democracy, this is a lot of the rhetoric you are getting from some of the officials of government. Yᴏò̀ᴜᴛᴜ, for example. I don't know what has become of democracy in their mind. I don't know what goes on in their mind as to how suddenly in a democracy there's this deliberate effort to demonize protest in a democracy. Very unfortunate. Like I said, it's almost like a deja vu for me, because again, some of these statements you are hearing now about a protest in the democracy just continues to remind you of the dark days of the military government in Nigeria. In fact, the worst of them all, which is the Abacha era, where it was zero tolerance to any form of dissent and protest. These are statements that you would not expect to get in a democracy. For some of these people who have suddenly become so non-tolerant of dissenting opinions that could come in the form of a peaceful protest in a democracy. But again, there is a situation we found that issues. The first one is that, look, whatever we are going through now, as far as this protest is concerned, this coming protest is concerned, shows that indeed the people still have the power to get the attention of the government. If they are able to coordinate themselves, work together, they can put the government on the edge. They can put the government on their toes. Look, just by this announcement, this coordination of the possible protest, you can see that everybody in government has been put on the edge. Everybody is talking. The governors are talking. The presidency is talking. Ministers are talking. The National Assembly is talking. Meetings are being held. It goes to show that, look, you can actually get the attention of the government if you coordinate yourself, put out your information in a well-coordinated and more deliberate manner. So that's one positive I've seen from whatever is happening, whether it is through the social media, whether it is whoever has been putting all of these things, or each group has been putting all of these things together as a possible of a protest. The positive for me is that, look, you can get the government to listen to you. The other positive aspect of this, I don't know whether it's called positive for me, is that, look, if the government wants to react, respond to the needs of the people, the yearnings of the people, they can also do that. You can see that, look, the government is now doing everything to assuage the minds of the protesters to stop this protest. Maybe from intelligence or the fact that they don't just want anything that, of course, again, drop the ratings of the government in the minds of the people. Look, whether you agree to the fact that rice is available for 40,000 or not, the fact that they are even thinking about dropping the price of rice shows that, look, they are listening to the people. There's a whole lot that is also going now. Oh, this intervention, we're giving this and that. So the government is doing this. At least they are now talking to you. Unlike before, where people hardly got a response from the government. So whether the response is adequate enough is another conversation. But at least it has shown that, look, the government can actually begin to talk to the people, respond to the people, address the needs and yearnings of the people if they really want to do so. So it's still about the people here, the power of the people, the people's power when it comes to democracy. I think that's one positive we can take away from this. But what I'm saying is that, look, whether we like it or not, it is strange, it is unbelievable, it is sad that we have a situation where there are people who have suddenly started to demonize the idea of a protest in the democracy. And one of the ingredients of sustainable and functional democracies in the world is the idea of the people to be able to speak their minds and speak truth to power in the form of protest. So far, they remain peaceful about it. And we have said it severally on this show, people have a right to protest. And people also have a right not to want to protest. So if you are going to protest, you must not use your own rights to begin to infringe on the rights of other people. Immediately you do that, you're already crossing the red line. You're already crossing the line. So again, would advise the security operatives, whatever they are putting in place now as a structure, should be about protecting the protester and also protecting the non-protesters. Say, in Lagos, I think yesterday we saw videos of people protesting against a protest.
Yeah,
You know that is that not very interesting?
It's so ironic. I mean, who protests against a protest?
A protest.
It's the most
You are
paradoxical thing
protesting
I've seen
against
in
a
my
protest.
life. You're on the street
You are
to speak against
protesting.
people coming out on the street.
You see the problem. If you ask me, that's a mental health situation.
I mean,
Because how do you go out protesting against a protest?
I said, I'm telling you, it's the most paradoxical thing I've seen in my life. I don't understand.
In societies where things work, they need mental evaluation. A psychotherapist would have to approach them to say, are you normal? You are protesting against a protest. You are protesting on the street, wearing say no to protest. So that means there's a problem. There is a disconnect somewhere mentally.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Well,
You don't understand?
let's see what happens on the 1st of August. Hopefully, all of the intervention that the government are affording to the people is enough to convince them.
If indeed there's a protest, we'll be out there to do our job.
Of course.
Do the report, do or whatever. But again, we're just hoping that the security operatives will do a very good job. To protect the protester and the non-protester so that it doesn't snowball into any form of violence.
All right, then. This particular story is on page 2. If you would like to see all of the security arrangements that's being made by the government, and just like Fuad have said, their presence should be about protecting the protesters rather than intimidating the protesters. But like I said, it's all yet to be seen. We're still live on social media. For those of you who are just joining the program, you can join us via social media on Facebook and on YouTube, where we're streaming live. Mainland 98.3 FM is how you find us on those streaming platforms or our social media platforms, and you can start to drop your comments actually using the live chat option. We're reviewing the Punch newspaper on trends in the papers here on Mainland 98.3 FM. My name is Sage Babalola. Conversations with Fuad Side still continues as we look through the other stories that we have across our dailies. Well, speaking about the NIN SIM linkage, Fuad, that also has been a source of agitation for a lot of people, because the Punch is reporting NIN linkage. NCC orders SIM restoration as angry subscribers protest. The Nigerian Communication Commission on Monday directed telecommunication companies to immediately restore all telephone lines of subscribers that were blocked after thousands of customers stormed the offices of the firms in protest. Subscribers whose telephone lines were blocked due to the non-linkage of their national identification numbers to their SIM cards besieged the offices of the companies less than 24 hours after the incident. An impeccable source told correspondent that the affected telephone lines from different mobile operators in the country were estimated to be around 3 million. And I'm quoting briefly now, it might be difficult to say the exact number because it's not just from one mobile operator. The number is fairly large from across the board, end of quote. I think particularly for MTN users, Fuad, they said about 4.2 million have been blocked so far. That's from this particular NIN SIM linkage directive started in December of 2020. And over the course of 2020 till now, MTN specifically, according to this report, says they have had to block about 4.2 million subscribers. And because of the rage that followed the most recent blockage, I think in Festac, one of their annexes in Festac was vandalized and the fence was torn down, right? So the NCC, in a bid to quell this rising storm, ordered all the mobile operators to ensure that the SIMs are unblocked, and this is just going to be temporary so that they have enough time to link their NIN to their SIM cards. But Fuad, here's the thing: many of the people whose lines were blocked had actually linked their NIN to their SIM card before, and then they get the message that they're supposed to update the linkage, and they ask the question, what is different about me? What updates do I need to put there? And then there's also the insinuations that came out, is here in the report, that this NIN SIM blockage might not be unconnected to the upcoming protest, an allegation that the NCC has denied. They say it's all about harmonization and it has nothing to do with trying to break down communication during the protest. I just wanted to put all the information out there so we can analyze it one after the other.
We'll start with the last one you just talked about. People have been saying that, because of the upcoming protest, so that people cannot communicate. That's why, because again, I think the deadline was supposed to be July 31st.
Yeah.
July 31st.
Yeah.
And so people are wondering why this blocking of lines started even before the deadline. But I think that, look, if that was the plan, really, or if that's the plan, really, I think it's even a very wrong decision to make, because what you have now created is that you have created more tension, really. because as people converge and begin to express their frustrations at these telecommunication offices, say you are already breathing the ground for a protest, a violent protest. And that was what we saw yesterday in some parts of Lagos. I think somewhere in Osun State and in Abuja too, where people really got so frustrated and were going to start to damage and vandalize the offices of these telecommunication operators. And I think that's even the reason why there's that look, there's already tension. Don't add petrol to a burning fire, if you understand what I'm saying. Because what we've seen, and I thought that, look, the government should really address two issues now. See, I think the first one has been addressed, this idea of name and same links. Don't create a situation where people are frustratingly put together in places and they begin to express their anger. It could just start another era of violent protests and conversations around whether the protest is coming or not. So I like the fact that they told the telecommunication operators, please reactivate these lines for now. And then the issue of this fuel scarcity, to say, whatever must be done, I think has to be done quickly. Yeah. So that because as people are getting frustrated, spending long hours at filling stations, I think it's also getting people agitated. I think the government really needs to do something about supply of PMS, petroleum products, across the country. Again, like I said yesterday, I think a lot of these guys who are in the oil sector, these are managers, the NMPC, particularly all of the regulators and what have you. I think it's time to allow these guys to go. There's nothing they can offer the country again. But I think that's also one issue the government should pay attention to now, so that it doesn't also become a breeding ground for any form of violent protest and what have you. Like I said, when people are put together in a frustrating manner, begin to agitate and discuss some of these issues, it could also be an opportunity for people to now start any form of violence and what have you. So I think those two issues the government needs to quickly address. Then, for the telecommunication operators too, and then the NIN officials, can we create a seamless process for people to do this thing? I wonder why do people have to go to the offices of these telecoms operators to do this?
Create a website and send the link.
They can be send people to link, do this, follow these steps and what have you, and then you can get these things done without having to. Most people come to your offices. Like somebody said, why is that in Nigeria? Everything that people must do, they must go through this needless hardship and suffering to be able to do it. You want to register for this, you have to go. Why must we queue for everything? Why must we? Especially in the era of technology. See, technology makes everything so easy. You understand what I'm saying? But here we just want people to go through needless suffering. Can we make this thing easy for people to do, really? Using technology. I'm sure there are smart IT guys out there who can create situations where these things can be done without people converting, spending long hours, productive hours, waiting to link their SIM card on one NIN or something. People say, what of these days? That is not the reality that make these things simple for people. Don't put people through needless suffering on things that can be done seamless.
Well, honestly, I just feel like they're lonely and they want to see people's faces, because I don't understand.
They just want to see people's faces.
That's just the only logical explanation. They're lonely and they want to see people, because I mean, like,
they just want you to come to their office.
This is an era of technology. You can do everything on your phone or on your device.
Virtually.
Just create a website. If even to submit your passport, you can do that virtually as well. They have these features on websites where you take pictures. They tell you take pictures of your face, your side view. They're capable of capturing this, unless of course it involves biometric or thumb printing. I can understand asking individuals to come to the office, but if it does not, I don't see why.
This is NIN linkage.
I don't see why.
I don't think there's any biometric that is involved in this. Just a linkage.
When I linked mine, there was no biometric or anything like that. So I don't, unless of course that's a new feature.
At the point of registering your SIM, getting your SIM, you've done a lot of biometrics. Even with NIN, you've done biometrics already. So how should linkage now bring biometrics again into the conversation?
So if there's no biometrics, I don't see why individuals.
So why can't they create a seamless process for people to be able to do these things? It's not to link your SIM with your NIN. So must people come to your office to do that?
May Lord have mercy on all our souls. You can get that particular story on the front page of the Punch newspaper. It is on page 70 of the Punch newspaper. This is still trends in the papers on mainland 98.3 FM. We have a story here. President Tinubu means well. Let's give him time to rescue Nigeria, says Tunji. Well, as expected, speaking on behalf of the president, he says that it's a lot of there was a lot of problems on ground, and so it will take some time to fix the wrongs before we can really start to feel the benefits of all of the endeavors of the president in trying to fix the country. And so we should grant him some level of leniency and allow him some time to work. And in the long term, we'll see the benefits of everything that he's currently doing. So the headline, Tinubu means well, let's give him time to rescue Nigeria.
Meaning well is not enough. Again, you can have good intentions, but with your good intentions, you can begin to progress in error. Sometimes people might have good intention, but they don't really have an idea as to how to do what they really want to do for the people. So it's not just about good intentions. Now, every president that has come, at least from 1990 today, will tell you they have good intentions. They want to fix the problem. But Nigerians have been so patient. 25 years down the line, they see that, look, you guys just come in, give us some manner of promises, we are going to fix the problem, we have this, but the problem still remains. To the extent that, look, things are even getting worse for them. If you understand what I'm saying. So you can want to make progress, but begin to progress in error. The president should listen to the people. Like somebody was saying, when the president started this aggressive revenue drive of making a lot of money for government, and then begin to share money to the governors, did he think that the governors were angels when he started all of those things? Now he's sharing money to the governors, there's nothing to show. And that's why people said that, look, aggressive revenue drive by the government in the past had never translated into better living for Nigeria. What it has done is that you create more opportunity for the politicians to enrich themselves at the detriment of the people. So that's why people are saying that, look, it's not just about all of these good intentions and what have you. The question is, what are you really doing to address the problem of the people? And then in addressing the problem of people, are you doing the right thing? Are you on the right path? Are we making tangible progress, or we are just scratching the surface? Look at this issue of rights that we are sharing now. See, if the government is now the one bringing in rights to sell people at 40,000 naira, what is that called in simple English? Because it means that the rice didn't come in at 40,000 naira. They must have brought in the rice at maybe 80,000 or so, right? Yes. So if the government is now selling it at 40,000 to the people, which I also think is a problem, but the idea of bringing down the price of rice for the people, what do you call that, Sage? Subsidy. Is that not subsidy? Subsidy. So what are we talking about? And that's why people are saying that, look, we don't want rice and beef, all this sharing of rice and beef. We want more tangible. I'm giving my own honest opinion, really. Because whether you like it or not, all of these interventions by the president, I think the Minister of Information too, I like him because his mannerism works for me. It's very, the decorum that comes with the way he addresses issues. Unlike our guy, Mr. Nonduga, that wants to insult everybody and say you don't know what you're saying. But if you listen to the Minister of Information, he himself knows that, look, a lot of the things that the government is doing now would not necessarily solve the problem. You understand what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, I think the minister said they're giving 20 trailers to each governor. I don't know anybody that has seen any rice anywhere in Lagos, for example, out of the 20 trailers. And ask us ourselves, if we give 20 trailers to Lagos, rice to go and share to people, we have officially 20 local government, recognized local government at the federal level. So if you give one trailer to each local government, what problem does this solve? Say? And that's why Nigerians are saying that, look, this government of tokenism would not solve anything. The idea of wanting to hand out money, rice to people look, Sage, if you get to the point where you have to wait for government rice to feed yourself and your family, I've told you before, you will not even have money to cook the rice in the first place. How much is 1 kg of gas now?
1,300.
Okay, so you get the rice. Are you going to eat the rice raw?
You use sawdust.
What of egg? What you do? What?
You use sawdust.
So that's what we're saying, that look, all of this sharing of rice and then the governors are getting more money, more allocation have gone to the governors now. Look, say, there are suggestions on the table for the president as to at least temporarily reduce the suffering of the people. For example, we like the idea of import duty waivers for all imported food at this time. It's a policy that has been announced. And we started to implement it, that anything, whether grain, rice, anything that you are able to bring into this country now, at least for the next 6 months, no duty
medical supplies
to be paid on food. Sorry?
Medical supplies as well. There's been a reduction.
Medical supplies too. Very important. But I keep saying it. It's not just to make the announcement. What about the implementation? Are we already implementing it? So that it doesn't just become another headline and then we discover that nothing has really been done. That announcement of import duty waivers for food into the country, have we started to implement it? What for the pharmaceuticals? So remember recently, pharmaceutical companies in Nigeria were even telling the president that you announced this thing about 2 months ago. But a lot of us have discovered that the thing is not yet implemented at our border post. People are still paying duty, so they are waiting for the government to implement that policy it has announced. That's number one. Number two, people are saying that no. Let us look at the price of petrol. Let us look at petrol, diesel, kerosene, and what have you. Can we have a situation where for the next 6 months or even 12 months, say, the president says that, look, I'm going to look at, instead of throwing these monies around to the governors, instead of this idea of buying rice and all of these things, yes, infrastructure and whatever. Yes, infrastructure is good, say. I'm not saying that we should not invest on infrastructure. But people should not die before the infrastructure is put in place. Can we have a situation where the president drops the price of PMS, maybe to around 300, 350 for the next 12 months? While we aggressively start to solve the problem in the oil sector, fix our other 4 refineries, and ensure we are able to ramp up investment with oil exploration so that we can produce enough crude, solve the problem of Dangote, ensure we are able to fix those 4 refineries, unless the story of the refinery is not really the thing they are telling us. So that at least we can now begin to manage ourselves locally when it comes to the price of PMS, whether you like it or not. 2 twin policies of this government were the reasons why we are in this problem. The first one majorly was the issue of subsidy removal. So instead of subsidizing all these rice and beans that they are doing, because practically the idea of bringing rice into the country to sell people at 40,000 is subsidy. Why not let us look at PMS that concerns everybody, that can touch everybody? How many people will go and queue now to buy government rice at 40,000 naira? So can we drop the price of PMS temporarily to now fix the issue of local refining? And then we can now begin to look at cost-reflective payments and what have you, and then begin to manage ourselves. We are not producing nations for God's sake. Why can't we take advantage of what God has given to us? And then we also have to look, say, at the problem of insecurity so that people can go back to farm. Let's find a way to solve the security problem. The people have said it. Look at all of the efforts of the security operatives now against the protest. Say, look at everybody is talking. The army is talking. The DSS is talking. Police is talking against a protest. People are saying, can we have that concerted effort against banditry, against kidnapping? To the extent that we can now secure our farms so that people can go back to farm. Can the security operatives, this same energy and effort they are putting into stopping the protest, which is not a problem, can they also gather that effort? All of these traditional rulers that are now talking now about 90-something groups that are speaking against a protest, all of the politicians, everybody that is talking against a protest. Can we also have that concerted effort from the government, the officials and security operatives about ending insecurity in Nigeria? Can it be a national agenda and a national emergency that look hashtag return to the farm, hashtag end banditry, hashtag end from the government? Let them start that campaign and Nigerians will follow them. So say the government needs to sit back again, look at its policies. And Nigerians are patient people. Are we not patient? Nigerians have been patient. Half of the things that happen in Nigeria, in other places, what would have happened. So the government needs to sit back and commit to nation building and address the sufferings of the people. That's what we are saying.
Well, you get more information of that particular story on page 15 of the Punch newspaper. Let me scan through the rest of the stories that we have. Labour excited as President Tinubu signs 70,000 minimum wage bill. Well,
very interesting. See, people that are looking for 260,000.
Yeah, well.
So excited about 70,000. Our pay is better than
Joe Ajero actually had a conversation after that signing went on. He said the alternative that was offered to them was, I pay you 250,000 and then the price of PMS goes up, or PMS price retains its current position and you take 70,000.
So they succumb to the threat, right?
That's what Joe Ajero said. That was the option.
Yeah, and I'm saying that. So they succumb to the threat of increasing price of PMS.
I mean,
and so when they were demanding for 250, didn't they know that can be part of the conversation?
Well,
right?
They had to reach a middle ground, I guess, a compromise.
Okay, so how we do it? Wait now, say, I'm one of those people that have said that, look, we need to just get this issue of minimum wage off the table. So I'm not trying to take us back. But what is the middle ground in looking for 250 and getting 70,000? How middle is the ground?
Okay, maybe a quarter of the center. Fᴜʟ, please.
So it's not middle ground.
Fᴜʟ, please. I have PTSD. Please.
But okay, we actually feel we need to move on really from this minimum wage conversation. Kudos to the president. That has been signed to law. We can leave that now and begin to face more serious issues of our nation building. So that's fine.
Yes. Well, you can get information of that story, page 13 of the Punch newspaper. Other stories here. PSC invites 10,000 new constables for training in August. That particular story is on page...
So they've solved that problem. There was a problem between the Police Service Commission and the IG and about recruitment.
Yes, the recruitment. So about 10,000 of them have been invited for training in August. It's on page 29. We have 32 arrested for attacking federal government inspection team. Is on page 4 and 5. Again, a testament to the fact that the agitation in the country is becoming rather intense. Page 4 and 5 is where you find that particular story. We also have Keyamo direct suspension of NAMA 800% charge hike is on page 69. And then let's look at the story briefly. Forward, Abuja politicians fueling banditry, says Benue governor. We have Benue State Governor Reverend Hyacinth Alia. Oh, we lost that story. I'm so sorry. Okay. Benue State Governor Reverend Hyacinth Alia has disclosed that the local bandits terrorizing the Sankera axis of the state have shunned measures put in place to rehabilitate them. The governor made this announcement while reviewing activities of bandits in Ukum, Katsina Ala, and the Logo local government area up in the Sankara axis. Also, the bandits accused the state government of betrayal by not fulfilling the promises to grant them amnesty. And speaking on the issue, Alia insisted that his administration has extended the olive branch to the bandits, but they rejected it. I would have read what he said verbatim, but we don't have time. But a summary of all of the points that he made. He says, first things first, politicians in Abuja. He did not give precise names. He just said politicians in Abuja are responsible for the banditry that we're seeing in the state. As a matter of fact, he has attempted to speak to a lot of these bandits, but they have refused to speak to him. Their anger is centered around the fact that the government promised to grant them amnesty and then they reneged on that promise, which is why the attacks are now more constant.
I listened to the governor. I think he was making this statement, I think, as far as on Sunday. I think it was on Sunday or Saturday that I practically saw it.
Fouad, we can barely hear you. You sound far away from me.
Yeah, making statements about people in Abuja being behind the crisis in Benue State. And what have you, that there are some politicians in Abuja. In fact, one of the things he said was that this particular insecurity situation, he was talking about a part of Benue State. He said that in some other parts of Benue State, there were external forces doing that. But for this particular one, he mentioned the local government or the area, that it was an internal thing, really. It was actually Benue people fighting Benue people and causing the crisis. That was what he was trying to say. But I think that at the end of the day, I'm sure he has the ears of the president. Luckily, the SGF is also from his state. That's Senator George Akume. He's from Benue State and he's the government of the federation. So I'm sure he has all of the opportunities to meet with the president to see how some of these things can be solved. So if there are people from Abuja, if he has that intelligence support as to politicians in Abuja being behind the problem, he should meet with the president to discuss about this problem so that it can be solved.
Page 8 and 9 of the Punch is where you find that story. Well, we have less than a minute, so let's just quickly scan through the Guardian newspaper. The top story, refiners get crude for Naira deal amid fuel scarcity, SIM blockade fury. It's on page 6. Also, organized CSOs, no amount of threat can stop nationwide protest is on page 3. APC appeals for patience over temporary hardship. That one is on page 7. And we have here on page 6 also that Nigerians can now buy a bag of rice at 40,000 naira. No need for protest, says federal
government. That's subsidizing rice.
Even though,
I would prefer that with subsidized petrol.
What? OPS taxed
Just
Mr.
saying.
Tinubu on promises as 70,000 minimum wage becomes law. And we have federal government puts vice chancellors on red alert over planned protest. And we have subscribers get reprieve as NCC orders reactivation of lines. Luckily, all of these stories have been analyzed when we're looking at the Punch newspaper. That's all we have for you this morning for Trends in the Papers. We have commercials lined up. I'll be back in about 10 minutes to take contributions and hear what you have to say about the stories that have been reviewed. My name is Sage Babalola. Don't go anywhere.